If you're the kind of person who doesn't care about money, but you're tired of living paycheck to paycheck, then today's episode is for you. My name's Phil. In today's episode, I want to talk to the folks out there who feel like that money is just a tool and they'd rather avoid it completely, but at the same time, they're kind of tired of living paycheck to paycheck, or they're tired of being bad with money. They're tired of being broke, even though they probably have a good income, or even though they make decent money. And if that's you, I think I have a few little things that can help you today. So the first thing I want to address is the idea that you don't care about money. A lot of people out there, when they say they don't care about money, it's more that they despise greed. They look at money as a financial tool, but they don't look at it as a lifestyle. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. And so a lot of people have adopted the philosophy that money is the root of all evil. And they're two different concepts. It's often misstated. The real fact is the love of money is the root of all evil. And I think that comes down to the idea of greed and hungry hippos, wanting to keep everything for yourself, get all you can and can all you get. So I understand why people can get to that point in life and just say, I don't want to be that person who loves money. Now, especially when you start to see financial goals and goals in life slip away, it's easy to fall over into the territory where you use that sort of as a legitimate excuse. You legitimize it, I should say. So you get to the point where you're turned off by the idea of money altogether, especially if you don't have a lot, if you don't have a lot of resources. But I think it's important that you change your perspective on it. When I think about money, I don't think about a number in my bank account. I don't think about a net worth. I think about what it can do for me. The time, the freedom, the goals that I have. So I think in order to address the problem where people feel like they're stuck living paycheck to paycheck, we have to first address the problem where they don't care about money and do a little bit of a mindset shift on what it is about money that they don't like. If they don't like greed, if they don't like selfishness, that's completely understandable. That's a good thing. But you can't let that be the reason why you're broke and why you're living paycheck to paycheck. So what can you do if you're in that situation and you feel like you don't want to be greedy, you don't want to love money, that doesn't have to be your primary purpose in life, but you're tired of being broke, tired of living paycheck to paycheck, or just tired of not having your stuff together, financially speaking. I think I have a few things that can help you today. So the first thing I want to address is a lot of people in that situation, they're hiding from their past. They've had goals, they've had dreams, they've had ideas, and for whatever reason, their fault, the fault of others, situations, they can no longer achieve those goals. And they get bitter and frustrated and disillusioned. And that's completely understandable. Life is filled with disappointments, challenges that we can't overcome. But I think it's critical for your financial health. If you really want to get free, if you really want to get to the point where you're not living paycheck to paycheck or broke, you have to begin to forgive the past. You have to forgive the people that hurt you. You have to let it go. More importantly, you have to forgive yourself. We've all had ideas, made commitments to ourselves. We've all started the diet and then dropped out. We've all started going to the gym and then gave up. You start to become callous in your own heart if you don't achieve those goals, and you start to get bitter at people, others, and yourself. But the key to moving forward is you must forgive yourself. You have to let it go. And no matter how many times those thoughts come in your mind that you're not good enough, that you failed, the words of people, the insecurity comes back at you, you have to forgive yourself. You have to let it go. So that's the first thing you have to do. And the next key to overcoming this idea that you don't care about money is you have to have inspiration in your life. You have to become inspired. You have to have goals and visions and dreams. And I'm not talking about just like the little, I want to pay off a credit card. That's true, but you have to have a big vision and goal for your life. You have to have a primary purpose, something driving you. And I think that's something that's different in my life that has kept me on track financially is I have big goals. I have dreams. I have ambitions. I haven't allowed anything, and I protect those things. I haven't allowed anything to interfere with those dreams and goals. the more I focus on those goals, the more things like finances, money becomes a tool to bring me to that goal. If you're just focused on your paycheck, your bank account, your net worth, none of that matters. Those are just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's a math problem. What really matters is what you can do with that, your freedom in life. And so when you think about money and it's just a math problem, who wants to be bothered with homework? I really don't like the idea of having to sit down all the time and update a spreadsheet, put numbers into an app, look at my bank account. Some of that stuff is depressing sometimes because of how hard you work, and then you realize this is it, this is all I've got. But you have to get outside of that. You have to get above that. You have to think bigger. Where are we going here? What are we doing? I mean the big stuff in life. What are your goals? If you look at why a lot of high-level billionaires or multimillionaires, CEOs, how is it that they're able to succeed? I think there's two parts to that recipe. Number one, I think that they're never satisfied with what they've got. And that can be a blessing and a curse, but they're never satisfied. They're always either growing or they want more, and that's where it kind of slips over into greed, but that's kind of inherent in their nature. But I think the second thing is they're callous to things outside of themselves. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. You want to love your neighbor as yourself. But at the same time, one of the things that allows them to be kind of ruthless is they don't care. And I'm not saying that you should be that kind of callous and ruthless, but I think there's a lesson to be had there. And the lesson is, if billionaires can succeed by being callous, then we can succeed by forgiving ourselves and forgiving others in the same way. So here's how that works. The callousness of a billionaire, not to care what happens to other people. And I'm not saying all billionaires are like that. But let's just say that the common understanding is that most high-level net worth people are kind of ruthless. The reason they're able to function that way is because they don't care. They don't care what you think. They only care about the bottom line. How we can apply that in our own lives is when people hurt you, you got to let it go. And you got to move forward. And you got to act within that callousness that allows a billionaire to move on and not care. You know what? Maybe we can let it go. Maybe we can forgive. Maybe we can move forward. And I think that's part of being successful, is to be able to shake it off and move forward. In the in the great words of Taylor Swift, shake it off. I'm not a Swiftie. Just saying. Shake it off. Move forward. And then develop that dream and that goal and focus on that dream and goal. And hold on to it and don't let go. No matter what happens, and think big. Think about your life. Think about what you want to achieve. Think about the legacy you want to leave on. And maybe you don't have anybody to leave a legacy for. Then leave it for yourself. Leave the legacy for yourself. Leave it for the beliefs that you have, the fundamental core values that you have. Maybe you just want to be a good person. Maybe there's an organization that you want to be more active in. Whatever your purpose is yours. I can tell you what mine is. Mine is my family, my faith, my friends. I like what I do, so my job. My job's a tool, but at the same time, it is a passion, something I like to do, something I've always liked to do. And so exploring those passions, exploring those things in your life and thinking about what do I really want to do with my life? Once you grab onto that, then the finances just become a tool to facilitate that. And then you begin to take it seriously. Not because you care about the numbers or a math problem, but because you see the opportunity that if you can get this stuff right, then you can move forward and do whatever you want in the other areas that you really care about and that you're passionate about. And that's what it's all about. And I think that's one of the things that makes my financial situation just a little bit different. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that my finances are perfect or that I know anything and that I know everything about money. But the reality is I've had some successes. I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed to have had those. Part of that is because I hold the core fundamental value that money is a tool to allow those things that I really care about to be a priority. So to kind of sum that up, get inspired. Have a vision for your life. Develop big goals, high-level goals. Let those drive your financial successes. Let that drive your need to care about money, to care about your financial situation. So then you can lock in on those goals and you can really get serious about what you want to do. And every time you start to think, I don't care about money, I don't want to look at my statements, come back to that fundamental idea that this is the reason why. What is your why? What is your primary purpose? Every time you think about making a bad financial decision, reflect on that why. Think about it. Write it on a piece of paper, keep it in your pocket. Put it on your mirror in the bathroom. Let those goals, let those visions, let those ideas protect you from making bad financial decisions. Then, once you start to get locked in, then it's time to develop that financial responsibility. Develop it just like if you were to go to the gym and start working out, and then you see progress. And then you start eating healthy, and then you see some more progress. Then you start to develop a success cycle where because you're eating healthy, you can do more at the gym. And because you're seeing results at the gym, you want to stay eating healthy. And the cycle just continues to repeat itself. And you can see that same thing in your finance where you begin to make responsible decisions. Then you start to make progress on your goals. Because you've made progress on your goals, you lock in and you continue to make progress in your finances. And that cycle of success just keeps continuing. But it starts with one little step, one little decision to focus on your ultimate goals, your ultimate dreams. Then you lock in and then you start to build it like a muscle. Then you start to see those results and the cycle just keeps repeating. And I could go on and on and on about that cycle because it just keeps repeating. But just like how there are negative cycles, there's positive cycles. And that's where you can begin to see real change. When that cycle just keeps running like an engine and it just starts. And before you know it, financially speaking, you're going to see that engine that you've built start to run. And to bring it to specific finances, when you develop a nest egg and a financial savings of a substantial amount, you begin to see the interest actually outpace the money that you can contribute to it. And when that happens, it becomes unstoppable. Then it's not about money. You don't even have to think about that then. It's just running. At some point, the voice of your vision and your dreams becomes louder than the voice of your insignificant wants. The little things, the tchotchkes, the spending you don't need to make, the food that you know is not healthy, the things that distract you away from your goal. That's why Bitcoin has never been like a big deal for me. It's just a little bit of a distraction. It takes me off my goal. And I'm not saying that's a whole nother video. You can watch it. I'll put a link on the screen. But things like that don't throw me off track because I have a vision that's bigger than myself. Goals that lock me in, and it's not just about the voices that are trying to distract me. And if that is something that's in your wheelhouse, if that's part of your goals and your vision, pursue it. But anything that takes you away from that pursuit, protect yourself, protect your heart, guard your heart. Only include people in your life, close people that care about keeping you on track for that vision. Otherwise, they're going to hurt you. They're going to take you away from what matters most. My goal is not to get too deep with this, but I think you have to understand that having good finances is not just about a math problem. It's not just about numbers on a paper. It really gets down into the core of what's going on in your life. It's a reflection of what's happening, from what work you've put in to what work you haven't put in, if you're a hard worker or if you're lazy. But then also the condition of your heart. Are you holding on to grudges? Are you jealous? Are you frustrated? All those things will force you into financial decisions that are they're gonna ruin your goals. And I see it over and over where people are jealous. They look at the government, they look at big companies and they say, they don't pay their fair share, they don't do their... That could be true, but what about you? So that leads me to one last thing that can kind of help you on this part of your financial journey. And that's something that Ramit Sethi says. I love the concept of it because it really resonated with me and who I am and what I think about. And that is, spend on what you love, cut out what you don't love. Simple as that. He talks about that concept of spending and focusing your finances on the things you really love, the things you really enjoy, your passions. If you focus on those things, and you can cut dramatically on the things that don't matter to you, like car insurance. Who cares about car insurance? It's a requirement. Get a good car insurance, but it's not something I'm passionate about. It's like a legal requirement, and it's financial responsibility. So I negotiate for that kind of stuff. I find the best price from the best company. I negotiate with even that company. I whittle it down to where my bare necessities are necessary. And what that does is allow the margin of what I wouldn't necessarily spend on it if I didn't pay attention to be put to other things. Internet's a good example. I think I have the cheapest internet package available. Now, I'm not a big gamer, and I know there's a lot of gamers out there, they require that for their downloads, and that could be part of their passion. Then spend on it. Spend extravagantly. That's fine. That's not the problem. The problem is if you're like me, you're not a gamer and you don't care about your internet speed aside from being able to send some emails and upload these videos, you don't have to have the highest internet package. Maybe you're saving $20 there. Use that $20 to go on a date with your wife. Buy something for your kids. Put a little extra away for something that matters to you, something you're saving up for. Spend extravagantly on the things you care about. Cut dramatically on the things you don't care about. Simple as that. If you start to apply those principles where you forgive others that have hurt you, and importantly, forgiving yourself for your past mistakes, and then you develop a vision and a goal and dreams for your life, and you focus on those and you lock in on those, then you start to exercise that like a muscle, and you start to exercise good financial responsibility, savings, and you start to see those successes, little wins, one at a time, $20 here, $20 there. And then you cut drastically and dramatically on the things you don't care about, the things that aren't necessary, the extras that you forget about after they're done. And then you start to spend extravagantly on the things that you care about and that you're passionate about. You start to save for the future about the things that you really care about. Then you can begin to see a life change happen. And that's when you begin to care about money and stop living paycheck to paycheck. And you don't care about money because you're a greedy person or because you love the math. It's because you care about the goals and the dreams and the visions that you have and the ideas of things you can do with that. And it becomes a tool and you run it like a business. Think about that. I want you to play that over and over and over and think about that. Think about that whole concept. If that's you, tell me in the comments, what are you going to cut? What are you going to spend on? What can we help you with? Maybe you're looking for an area and you aren't quite sure. You aren't quite sure of what to do or where to start. Let us know. I understand financial situations are very private information. I don't even like to share all my personal finances. I understand that. But if there's something that we can help you about, then let us know in the comments. And this community and me, I want to help you. That's why I'm here. Personal finances for me is a tool. It's not about loving money. It's not about like hungry hippos. It's not about just swallowing up everything I can get and hoarding it all. It's about purpose in life and what you can do when you have the tools and you have the financial strength to do whatever you need to do. Part of the idea of why I even care about finances is because years ago I realized that there may come a day when I have to say something publicly or do something that could get me canceled. And this was before social media. I had that idea. So years ago I developed the idea that I needed to begin to at least develop enough financial freedom that no matter what happened, I had some cushion, some protection. A lot of that started when I worked for an employer early on. My wife and I worked for an employer that had no unemployment compensation because as a nonprofit organization in some states, they don't have to pay unemployment compensation. So what does that mean? If you get laid off, you're on your own, pal. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. I was ready for it. It happened. And I stand here years later and I can tell you, this is what happens when you do the right thing, because it started with a vision and a goal and ideas, and all of that routed me in the same direction. I know I'm kind of rambling on here, but I want to give you some understanding of what's going on in my mind, that I actually care about it. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that just say, well, you just like money. I could care less about what's in my bank account. What I care about is my family and what I can do for them. And I want to be rock solid. I want to make it so that it's impossible for us to be shaken financially. And that's, that's very, very challenging at times, especially when you can't control a lot of things. You can't control the cost of a loaf of bread, but you can choose how many slices of bread you eat. And so there are things we can do. And I think one of those things is to cut dramatically on the things we don't care about and spend extravagantly on the things we do care about. So I hope that helped you today. And if it did, I would love you to join by subscribing, and that way when new videos come out, you'll be alerted to them. Don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. You know how that works. My name's Phil, and I hope this helped you. And if it did, go ahead and subscribe. Love for you to like the video if you enjoyed what you heard today, and we'll see you next time.